Hi everybody, I'm Tina from Living Delicious Nutrish and welcome back to my kitchen. It's been a little while. I've been developing some new fun recipes for you, all with the Greek theme and all paleo. So I hope you enjoy these. The first one today that I'm here to show you is a traditional Greek dish. It's a stuffed grape leaf, or as we like to call them, dolmathes. They're grape leaves and they're filled with either rice traditionally that's seasoned or with meat and rice. And today I'm going to show you my paleo version using this grain-free orzo pasta. I found that it works really well and most people love the texture without really noticing or missing the rice. So that's one fun thing. You can also go straight seasoned meat and it would be completely Whole30. So some really good options for this dish. Mezethes, as we like to call them in Greek, are little snacks or small plates. I think we invented the grazing board and we always have in the afternoon some nice light bites, sometimes with a little bit of ouzo on ice for sipping and or a little wine. And we like to serve both hot and cold things. These can be served at room temperature or warm. And the other thing I'm going to show you today is an avgolemino, or an egg lemon sauce, pretty much based on the egg lemon soup that's so traditional, but it's just a little thicker and it doesn't contain any of the other ingredients, the orzo or the rice or the vegetables or the shredded chicken, because it's just a nice sauce that you can ladle over the grape leaves if you want to serve them more as a dish than a snack. So my new series of the Koutala Volume 2 is going to be Mezethes, or small plates. I think it'll be fun for summer, so I hope you enjoy it. The first thing I want to talk to you about is this orzo. I only par cooked the orzo. I have it ready. I started with some chicken stock, some chicken bone broth, and I love the Kettle and Fire chicken bone broth just because it's going to give you that extra collagen, a little bit of extra nutrition along with the flavor. And I only cooked this for 4 minutes. The package directions say 8, and I cut it in half. And you can see it's already absorbed most of the liquid, but it's not edible yet. It's still really hard. And that's okay because it's going to finish cooking in the oven when we make the mixture and roll up the dolmathes. So I'm making half of the recipe for you today because they have the other half in the oven ready to show you here in a bit. So we've got the half a pound of grass-fed ground beef. Try and use grass-fed if you can. If not, no big deal, but try and do that. And the orzo is still warm. Don't let it completely cool or it'll stop the cooking process and you want these to continue cooking. So I'm just going to add this orzo into the meat. And then I have about a quarter cup of minced onion. I'm saying minced because I do have it diced really small. You want it to cook down and you don't want to have a big bite of onion when someone bites into these. So that's going in. And then I'm going to season it. Now, as you know, I love this paleo powder seasoning. I think it's the closest thing that I've found that's a nice Greek style blend. It has all of the traditional herbs, oregano, dill, parsley, and so on. But it doesn't have any caking agents and they're all organic. So I'm going to do couple teaspoons of this, just sprinkle it right in. And this meat holds together really just fine without eggs or anything, so you don't have to worry about using eggs. It's an egg-free dish. I like a little cumin. Some parts of Greece don't use cumin. I like to add it. It's a nice smoky flavor, just about a half teaspoon, again, because I'm doing a half a batch. Some pink sea salt, about a half a teaspoon. For this on the whole website, the whole recipe will be on the website, so you can check it out there. And some fresh ground cracked pepper. That looks about right. So I've got all the seasoning there, and I'm just gonna mix this up with the orzo. Now, because the orzo is warm and the meat is cold, you really need to do this whole thing in one continuous process. You can't let the meat sit for too long with the orzo mixed inside, because the temperature of the meat will come up and we don't want to cause any unnecessary bacterial growth in the meat. So we're just gonna make sure that once we have this mixed, we go straight into rolling the grape leaves. And that's how it looks finished. And now I'm just gonna wash my hands real quick and we'll move on to the grape leaves. I love my kitchen because it's nice and spread out and I have space for everything. I'll have to look to see if anyone has joined in today. Oh, I see Priya. Hi, Priya. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so here's the unique ingredient, the grape leaves. They come in a jar like this. I like this brand if you have to buy them, but I can tell you, growing up, we always had a grapevine in the backyard. If we saw grapevines growing on the side of the road, my mom and my grandmother would literally stop the car and get out and pick the leaves, and then they would just brine them in some water and salt and pack them in mason jars. And I remember my grandmother rolling them so tight they were like cigars, and then wrapping them with a thread. So these days, I do have a grapevine growing in my yard. I can't harvest anything yet, but that's the plan. And we grow them more for the leaves than the grapes. So they come tightly packed in a jar like this in some brine. It's the only cooking, is just packing them in the brine. And I like to unroll them and then go through them and sort the smaller ones from the larger ones. So I've put a few of the smaller ones on top. I'm just gonna set those over here and then I'll get a little closer to the camera so you can see. And then these larger ones, you can see they have some pretty thick veins. They're a little tougher, a little harder to eat. They do get more tender when you bake them, but I prefer to try and stick to the smaller ones. So I use these larger ones, they don't go to waste, to line my casserole dish. I give you a couple options on the recipe. You can either use a casserole that's got a deeper bottom and go with 2 layers, or you can go with a wider dish and just do 1 layer. I'm just gonna spray this with some spray ghee. You can use olive oil, brush it with olive oil spray, whatever you prefer. And then I'm going to line the pan with these leaves and bring them up to the sides, because I like that it gives it an extra layer of protection and of flavor. I think 3 will do it. And just bring them up over the sides, just like that. And now, let me get this out of the way, and I can show you how I roll these. You know I love my portion scoops. Portion scoops really help keep everything evenly portioned, thus the name, and nice and convenient. And my portion scoop is, I know I got that, there we go. This is a 1 ounce portion scoop. And I like to line up the leaves that I'm gonna fill a few at a time. And sometimes I take this little bit of stem off, so you don't have to eat that. So you can see right there, it has that piece of stem. Just gonna cut that off. You can try snapping it off with your fingernails too, but I like to just cut it. Now I'm just gonna scoop the meat with my portion scoop. Nice level scoop, like that, and drop it right onto the leaf, just above where the veins all come together. And I'll show you 2 of these. You don't want to see me fill the whole pan, I'm sure. Let's see, how can I get this closer to you? How's that? Okay. Now, to roll them, it's just burrito style. I'm going to start by folding in these 2 sides, give it a half a roll, fold in the next 2 sides, and then roll it the rest of the way. And then the tip is on the bottom. Perfect roll. And they don't take much practice. You can figure this out right away. So I'll do the next one so you can see. Again, don't worry about the shape of the meat being round, because as soon as you start to roll it, it's going to go into that more oblong log shape. So I'm folding over the 2 sides, giving it a half a roll, folding over the next 2 sides, and then rolling it the rest of the way. And that's it. And then they go into this casserole dish and put them point side down, and that way they stay closed when you bake them. So pack them really tight all the way around, and then if you want to do another layer, you can do another layer on top. And then I would take a lemon, come over here, dear. Some things never change, right? This stupid Peebo. And just squirt like the juice of an entire lemon over the top of the completely filled dish. And then use these last leaves to cover it up. So you can cover the whole casserole with the leaves. So I'll show you what this looks like finished. I'll be right back. So because my casserole dishes don't have lids, I'm just using some foil to cover this up. So if you just put the foil on really tight, it will generate enough steam and liquid to really cook those leaves until they're tender, and that lemon will just impart such a wonderful flavor with the brininess of the grape leaves. So I'm just going to take this foil off. Make sure you always go away from your face, unless you really want a facial. And you can test them very simply. Grab my hot pad. This is still hot. You can see what it looks like with the leaves on top. And you can see there's lots of juice in there. So I'm just going to peel these top leaves off. They did dry out a little bit, but don't worry about that. And here's what they look like finished. Delicious, nice tender leaf. And nice, goes right through with the fork. And nice and meaty on the inside with that orzo pasta. Next, I'm going to show you how to make the avgolemono sauce. I already have some chicken stock, some chicken bone broth going on my other stove. So let me transfer that over here, and then I'll show you the rest of the recipe. So again, this is the kettle and fire bone broth. Just going to turn this on and get it to almost a boil, not quite. And I'll get some of these other things out of the way so we can plate this up in a minute. So this is 2 cups of chicken bone broth. 2 cups of chicken bone broth that I'm going to bring to an almost boil, and then I have some lemon juice, 4 ounces of lemon juice that I squeezed fresh from lemons, and 2 whole eggs and 1 egg yolk. You want to whip this until it gets really frothy. You want the eggs to be nice and thin. Okay, you don't have to take it to ribbon stage or super thick or anything like that. You just want it to be nice and blended. This is hot. Now I'm going to add the lemon juice to the egg mixture. Now this is the trick. The chicken stock needs to get drizzled in very slowly so you don't scramble the eggs. If you just dumped this whole thing into here, it would be egg drop soup. That's not what we're going for. Not that we don't love that, but that's not what's happening today. So I'm just turning the heat down a little bit because we're going to return it to the burner once we've got the broth completely drizzled in. So very slowly and stirring the whole time because you just want to warm these eggs as you go, very slowly. Now those are feeling nice and warm. Now we're going to add this chicken and egg mix back to the stove. And now you do not stop stirring. Just going to do this until it gets nice and thick. It won't get super thick. It's not anglaise or something like that. You can use a thickener if you like some tapioca starch or maybe, I don't do cornstarch because I don't do grain, but something that will thicken it a little bit. This is all the thicker you would want it for the soup. You would have your vegetables already in here and your shredded chicken, your orzo or your rice if you added those things. But you can see with those 2 eggs and the egg yolk that this will become a little thicker. The other thing that I like about this sauce is I always make it right before I'm going to serve it because it's difficult to reheat because of the eggs and it will kind of curdle a little bit, so you don't want that to happen. And because I don't have the magic of editing or television because we're live, I get to stir this until it gets nice and thick. So I've been developing all kinds of fun Mezethes recipes for you. Mezethes, again, as I said, is appetizers or small bites. And I think it's going to be fun to share some of the kinds of things that you would eat when you're vacationing in the Greek Isles. These are the things that you would be noshing on while you're sipping on your ouzo overlooking the Aegean. Now this is starting to get thick. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. And I will let it rest for a minute so I can grab a dish and show you how beautiful these look when they're all plated up. I just have a little plate. I'm going to go grab those Dolmathes and I'll be right back. So here they are. Just going to give this one more stir. It could be a little thicker, honestly, if you have the time to let it continue to cook. It wouldn't hurt, but I'm going to show you what it looks like this, just for time's sake. That's not pretty. And this lemon sauce just gives it a nice other acid element and a nice rich flavor. And you can see the leaves got nice and tender. And that sauce makes it delicious. You'll never miss the rice. The meat has a wonderful consistency, perfectly cooked, not dried out. That's why I like to use the ground meat, because it keeps that little bit of extra fat in it nice and moist. It's so refreshing for a hot summer day. And you can eat these cold. Eat them right out of the fridge. That's what I used to do as I was a kid, when my grandmother and my mom made them. So that's what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. The recipe will be on the website shortly. Let me also tell you that for those of you who are local to Central Florida here, I'm going to be hosting a monthly series at the Edible Education Experience, which is the kitchen house and part of the Emerald Lagasse Foundation. It's going to be called Reset with Real Food. It'll be an evening of Whole30 principles and learning to make some simple swaps in your kitchen to eat a little healthier and keeping it delicious and nutritious. So join me. The link is on my website to purchase tickets. It's very limited seating, so I recommend getting on there and giving it a try now. Thanks again for joining me. It's great to have you all with me, and I'll see you again next week. Opa, yasas.